Vera Castellano sat in the cramped office on Mission Street in San Francisco, staring at the screen that showed her personal bank account balance, $847. At 35, she had less money than when she'd graduated college. The reason was sitting in a filing cabinet 3 feet away, 6 years of receipts, transfers, and loan documents showing exactly where her $55,000 in savings had gone, into her family's dying property management company. It had started simply enough. 6 years ago, her parents Elena and Marco had admitted they were drowning. The company her grandfather had started in the 1980s was $80,000 in debt, bleeding clients, and about to collapse. Her uncle Vincent, who owned 30% despite contributing nothing, had shrugged and said, "Not my problem to solve." "You're good with numbers and computers," her mother had said, handing Vera the keys to this shabby office. "We trust you to figure it out." Figure it out. As if rescuing a business on life support was something you could just Google. NBUT Vera had tried. She'd sunk her entire savings, $55,000 earned over 8 years of corporate finance work, into immediate triage. Back rent, contractor debts, new software, business licenses. She'd worked 70-hour weeks teaching herself property management while preventing the company from hemorrhaging clients. NSHE hadn't taken a salary for 18 months. Every dollar went back into operations while she lived off credit cards and freelance gigs. NBY Year 2, she'd stabilized things. 3 building contracts in the Mission District brought steady income. By Year 3, the $80,000 debt was paid off. By Year 5, the company managed 8 buildings and turned consistent profit. NBUT. That's when her younger brother Leo had discovered there was money again. Leo Castellano was 28, charming, and catastrophically irresponsible. He'd cycled through jobs: bartender, entrepreneur, rideshare driver, never sticking with anything. And whenever he needed money, he came to Vera. She'd kept a spreadsheet. Not from spite, but necessity. NLEO, loans in Year 1, $8,000 for business opportunity. MLM supplement scheme, quit after 3 weeks. Year 2, $12,000 for rent after eviction, spent on Nevada Music Festival instead. Year 3, $15,000 for credit card debt from crypto investment, that tanked. Year 4, $6,000 for used car, broke debt. Total, $48,000. Repaid, $0. And every time Vera confronted him, the response was identical. "I'll pay you back next month, I swear." And every time she mentioned it to their parents, the response was, "He's still finding his way. Don't be so hard on him." NHER Uncle Vincent was worse. "Family helps family. Don't be uptight about money, nuptight." That was rich, from someone who contributed nothing but collected quarterly dividend checks. NBY Year 6, Vera had paid off all original debts and built the company to $400,000 in value, with 8 building contracts generating $35,000 monthly. She'd finally started taking a modest salary of $4,500, well below market rate, and hired 2 part-time employees. NHER personal finances, though, were wrecked. She'd racked up $28,000 in credit card debt during the unpaid years. Her retirement account was empty, cashed out for emergency repairs. She lived in a tiny studio in outer Sunset. Meanwhile, Leo posted Instagram photos from Tahoe weekends, driving a leased BMW Vera suspected was funded by more loans she hadn't tracked. NTHE breaking point came on a Tuesday in September. NHER parents had invited her to dinner at their Daly City house. Her mother made lasagna, Vera's childhood favorite, which should have been a warning sign. Elena only made lasagna for difficult conversations. Uncle Vincent was there, sitting at the head of the table like he owned it. Leo arrived 20 minutes late, breezing in without apologies. They ate in tense silence until Marco cleared his throat. "And Vera, we need to talk about the company's future." And Vera's stomach tightened. "Okay, we think it's time for changes." He glanced at Vincent for support. "We think you should step back from daily operations." NTHE words hit like a punch. "Step back? From the company I've been running for 6 years?" And Vincent leaned forward. "We think Leo should take over as managing director." NTHE room tilted. "Leo? Who's never worked a day at this company? who can't hold any job for 6 months. He's family, Vincent said firmly. He deserves a chance to prove himself. I didn't get a chance. I got a failing business and $80,000 in debt. You're being dramatic, Vincent dismissed. The company was always solid. It just needed updating. Solid? You were 3 months from bankruptcy. Vera, please. Elena tried to take her hand. We're just thinking Leo needs this. He needs to step up. What about what I need? What about the $55,000 I invested? 6 years of my life? Leo spoke carefully. V, maybe you could use a break. You're always so stressed. Vera stared at her brother in his $300 designer hoodie, BMW keys on the table. He was going to take over what she'd built. No, she said quietly. Vincent's eyebrows rose. Excuse me, no, I'm not stepping back. Vera stood. You want Leo to run things? Fine, but I'm not sticking around to watch him destroy it. Vera, sit down, Marco ordered. Let's discuss this like adults. We are discussing it. You've made your decision. I'm making mine. If Leo's taking over, I'm out. You can't just quit, Vincent said. You're a shareholder. You have responsibilities. Responsibilities. Vera laughed bitterly. I've met my responsibilities for 6 years. I'm done. Nelena was crying. You're being selfish. This is our family's legacy. Watch me walk away from your legacy. Vera grabbed her purse and left. Behind her, Leo called out, Come on, V, don't be like this. NSHE didn't look back. In her car on 280, stuck in traffic, the weight of what happened crashed down. They'd pushed her out. Her own family had taken everything she'd built and handed it to someone who hadn't earned it. Vera pulled into a parking lot and cried, not from sadness, but from rage. Pure, clarifying rage. NBY, the time her tears stopped, she knew exactly what to do. Vera didn't sleep that night. She sat at her kitchen table, laptop glowing, pulling up every financial document she had. NTHE Company's operating account held $87,000, the cushion she'd carefully built for quarterly expenses and emergencies. That money was complicated because it was technically owned by all shareholders, NBUT. There was another number that wasn't complicated at all, $143,000. And over the years, Vera had formalized her investments as loans to the company. In year 3, tired of her contributions being treated as gifts, she'd created official promissory notes with her parents' signatures. The notes stated clearly, these were loans, and Vera could call them in at any time. She'd given them years of patience. Now they'd get 30 seconds. At 2:47 a.m., Vera initiated the transfer. $143,000, moved from the company account to her personal account in a series of clicks. The promissory notes gave her full legal right. NBY 3 a.m., the company account showed $56,000. Vera stared at the negative balance. Without her money, the business was underwater. Just like when she'd found it, NSHE felt a flicker of guilt, then remembered Vincent saying, "You're being dramatic," and Leo suggesting she needed a break. NHER phone stayed silent until 9 a.m. Then it exploded. NMOM. Vera, the bank says we're overdrawn. What happened? Dad, we need to talk right now. This is serious. And Vincent, voicemail. I don't know what you think you're doing, but fix this immediately. Leo, dude, what the hell? Did you take all the money? And Vera read every message, sipping cold coffee, and replied to exactly none. Instead, she emailed her lawyer friend Marcus with copies of the promissory notes and transfer receipts. His response came within an hour. Holy shit, you actually did it. They can't touch you. You had legal right. Let me know when they try to sue. NBY noon. Her parents were at her door. Nelena looked like she'd been crying all morning. Marco's jaw was set in barely controlled fury. Vera, what the hell were you thinking? Her father demanded. You've destroyed the company. I collected loans that were legally mine, Vera said calmly. Loans I made to a business that's pushing me out. You can't just take all the money. Elena's voice was shrill. We have bills. Employees. You should have thought of that before deciding Leo was ready to take over. This is vindictive. This is practical. If I'm not running the company, why would my money stay in it? Because it's the family business. Elena threw up her hands. Because Leo can't start with nothing. I started with negative 80,000. He can figure it out the same way, by working and investing his own money. He doesn't have that kind of money. Then maybe he's not ready to run a business. Marco stepped closer, voice threatening. If you don't put that money back, you'll regret it. Vera met his eyes. Is that a threat, Dad? It's a fact. You're tearing this family apart. I'm not tearing anything apart. You did that last night when you chose him over me. They argued for another 20 minutes until Vera finally said, I need you to leave. Now Marco slammed the door so hard it rattled the walls. And over the next 3 days, consequences cascaded. The office rent bounced. The property management software subscription was declined. Both part-time employees quit when payroll didn't process. 3 of 8 building contracts were canceled by clients who'd heard about financial instability. Leo, thrust into a role he'd never wanted, completely panicked. He called Vera 17 times. She answered none. NHER parents tried twice more. The first time, Elena showed up with Vincent, both trying guilt about family legacy and, quote, grandfather would think. Vera reminded them grandfather had been a terrible businessman who'd left the company in debt. NTHE second time. Marco came alone, shifting to bargaining. What if we gave you a raise? Made you CEO officially with Leo under you? You pushed me out, Dad. You don't get to unring that bell. NBY week 2, the company had lost 6 of 8 contracts. The remaining 2 gave notice they wouldn't renew. The business was effectively dead. Vincent sent a legal demand letter claiming Vera breached fiduciary duty. Marcus laughed so hard, Vera had to hold the phone away from her ear. He's got nothing. You had promissory notes. You're completely in the clear. Vincent never sued. But he did call at 11 p.m., drunk, shouting about how she'd destroyed the family and was dead to him. Vera hung up and blocked his number. 3 weeks after pulling her money, Vera got a surprising call from her cousin Isabella, Vincent's daughter. Can we meet for coffee? I want to talk about something. Nata Mission Cafe. Isabella got straight to the point. I'm glad you did what you did. Dad's been a parasite for years. You're not mad? Mad? Vera, I've watched you work yourself to death while my dad collected checks for nothing. I'm amazed you lasted this long. Then Isabella shared her own story. 5 years ago, Vincent had invested $10,000 in Isabella's graphic design business, money that came from family company dividends, meaning it was partially Vera's money. He demanded to be a silent partner, then spent 3 months micromanaging, taking credit and refusing to let her buy him out. I shut the whole thing down, Isabella said bitterly. It was the only way to get him out. I've never tried to start my own business again. They spent an hour comparing notes on Vincent's manipulations and their family's toxic dynamics. By the end, Vera felt less alone. What now? Isabella asked. I'm figuring it out. I have my money back, but no job. You have 6 years of experience running a successful property management company. Start your own. Do it right this time, without anyone taking credit or bleeding you dry. NTHE idea planted itself like a seed. NBY the time Vera got home, she was already making lists. 2 months after walking away, Vera's phone rang. Isabella N. I found something you need to see. Can we meet? Not the same cafe. Isabella slid a folder across the table. I was helping Dad clean out his office. He's selling his condo. And found these hidden in a box, marked taxes. And Vera opened the folder. Inside were bank statements, contracts, and emails dating back 5 years. What she read made her stomach turn. In year 3, when Vera had just gotten the company profitable, Vincent, Marco, and Elena had taken out a $95,000 business loan without telling her. The loan was secured against company assets and future revenue that Vera was generating. Instead of using it for business purposes, they distributed it as dividends. Vincent took $35,000. Her parents split $60,000. Look at the dates, Isabella pointed. This is when Leo bought that BMW. And when your parents renovated their kitchen. Vera's hands shook as she flipped through documents. They'd taken nearly $100,000 from the company she was killing herself to save, distributed it as personal income, and never told her. Meanwhile, she'd been living on credit cards and taking no salary. There's more. Isabella pulled out another document, a promissory note dated 6 months before they'd pushed Vera out. It showed Leo had borrowed $40,000 from the company to invest in cryptocurrency. The note was co-signed by Marco and Elena, authorizing the loan without Vera's knowledge. "That's why they wanted you out," Isabella said. "Leo's crypto investment tanked. He lost all $40,000. The company was carrying that debt, and they knew you'd discover it if you kept running the books. So they decided to push you out and install Leo as a figurehead, hoping to bury the evidence. And Vera felt like she'd been punched. They pushed me out to cover up theft. Essentially, yes. That's fraud. Criminal fraud. I know. What are you going to do?" And Vera stared at the evidence. "I don't know, but I'm keeping these documents." NTHAT night. Sleepless at 2 a.m., she called Marcus in. "This better be an emergency," he answered groggily. "It is." "Is this criminal fraud or just civil fraud?" She described everything. "Holy shit. Yeah, that's criminal. Self-dealing, embezzlement, possibly wire fraud. This is serious, Vera. What should I do?" "That depends. What do you want?" Vera thought about her parents working retail, about the house they'd lost, about Leo, who'd gambled $40,000 and never faced consequences, about Vincent, who'd sued her while sitting on evidence of his own theft. "I want them to know that I know. I want them to understand I wasn't overreacting. They were criminals and I was the victim. You could go to the police. With evidence this clear, they'd probably investigate. Would I get any money back? Probably not. It's gone. You could file civil suit, but they don't have assets. You'd win a judgment and get nothing. So my options are criminal charges that don't get me paid, civil suit that doesn't get me paid, or just living with knowing what they did. Pretty much. Or option 4, confront them with evidence and watch them squirm. No legal action, just truth on the table." And Vera spent a week making copies, organizing chronologically, creating a clear narrative of the fraud. Then she drafted a letter. NTHE letter laid out everything. The unauthorized loan, the hidden distributions, Leo's gambling losses, the timeline proving they'd pushed her out to cover theft. She attached copies of all evidence. NTHE letter concluded I'm not pursuing legal action. Not because you don't deserve it, but because I'm choosing my peace over your punishment. But I want you to know that I know. Every time you blamed me for taking all the money or destroying the family business, you were lying to cover up your own theft. And I gave you 6 years and $143,000. You repaid me by stealing $135,000 more and trying to force me out to hide it. And I'm done, completely done. Don't contact me. We have no relationship anymore. Vera. NSHE sent copies to her parents, Vincent and Leo. She kept originals in a safe deposit box. NTHE responses came quickly, and Vincent called screaming about defamation. Vera didn't answer. NHER father sent a long email starting with, "You don't understand the full context," and devolving into justifications. Vera deleted it halfway through. Leo texted, "I can't believe you're still holding grudges about ancient history." And Vera blocked his number. NHER mother tried a different approach, showing up at Vera's apartment. "Mom, I've listened for 35 years. I'm done listening. What we did was wrong, but we were desperate. You made criminal choices. While I worked 60 hours for no pay, you distributed company money to yourselves. While I lived on credit cards, you renovated your kitchen with stolen funds. It wasn't stolen. We were shareholders. You took out a loan without my knowledge, using assets I restored as collateral. You authorized Leo to gamble $40,000. That's not shareholder privileges, Mom. That's fraud." Nelena's face crumpled. "Are you going to have us arrested?" Vera looked at her mother, 63, working part-time at Safeway, living in a cramped apartment after losing her house. She looked defeated, and Vera felt nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, just complete absence of feeling. "No, I'm not going to have you arrested. I'm just going to let you live with what you did." "But Mom, we're not family anymore, not in any way that matters. You're not my mother. We're strangers who share DNA and Vera. I need you to leave and never come back." Nelena left crying. Vera went back to work. 8 months after pulling her money, Vera did exactly what Isabella suggested. she started her own property management company, Castellano Property Solutions, launched with the $143,000 as seed capital. She rented a small office in Soma, hired 2 experienced property managers, and leveraged her 6 years of relationships and reputation. NSHE couldn't take her old clients. They were tied up in bankruptcy proceedings. But she could use her network. Within 3 months, she had signed 4 buildings. Within 6 months, 10. Within a year, 18 properties generating $52,000 monthly. Vera paid herself $8,500 monthly, still below market rate, but substantially more than she'd ever made working for family. She contributed to her 401k, paid down credit card debt, moved to a 1-bedroom in Noe Valley with actual closets. NSHE worked hard, but she worked for herself. Every dollar earned went to growing her business or improving her life, not funding someone else's lifestyle. NFOR, the first time in her adult life, she worked without resentment. NTHE accidental reunion happened at a Safeway in Daly City. Vera was grabbing groceries when she literally ran into her mother in the pasta aisle. "Vera," Elena said, voice catching. They stood with shopping carts between them like barricades. Nelena looked older, new lines, gray overtaking brown, wearing a Safeway employee vest. "You work here?" Vera asked. Nelena flushed. "Part-time. We needed income after everything." Silence stretched. "How are you?" Elena finally asked. "Good. I started my own company. It's doing well." Something flickered across Elena's face. "I heard. Isabella mentioned it. She's been supportive." Another pause. Then Elena said quietly, "Vera, I'm sorry. For how we treated you. For choosing Leo. We made a terrible mistake." Vera had imagined this moment 100 times. She'd expected to feel vindicated, triumphant, forgiving. And instead, she felt tired. "Mom, an apology doesn't fix this. You didn't make one bad decision. You spent 6 years taking me for granted, enabling Leo, treating my sacrifice like it was owed." "I know. You're right." Elena's eyes were wet. "I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know, we see it now." "What about Leo?" Elena hesitated. "Leo thinks you overreacted. He doesn't understand why you're still angry." "No, of course not." "And Dad? Your father is proud of you. He won't say it, but he is. He talks about your company when he thinks I'm not listening. He misses you." And Vera felt the familiar tug, the daughter's desire for paternal approval. She pushed it away, and not ready for a relationship. "Maybe someday, but not now." Elena nodded, tears spilling. "Can I hug you?" They hugged awkwardly, Elena clinging longer than Vera was comfortable with. When they separated, Elena wiped her eyes. "I'm proud of you too, Mija. Even if I don't have the right to be." Vera left without buying groceries. Hands shaking, NSHE sat in her car processing. She'd wanted an apology for so long. Now that she had it, she realized it didn't change anything. The damage was done. Trust broken so completely couldn't be rebuilt with words alone, and maybe with time and action. Or maybe not at all. And Vera was learning to be okay with that too. End Part 5, Unexpected Changing. 18 months after pulling her money, Vera received an unexpected visitor at her office. NHER assistant knocked. "Someone here to see you. Says his name is Leo. He's your brother." And Vera's stomach tightened. "Give me 5 minutes." Leo appeared looking different. Thinner, professional suit, haircut properly. He looked like an adult. "Nice place," he said. "Really nice. What do you want, Leo?" "Can I sit?" "You can stand." NHE stood. "I wanted to apologize. For real. You've had 18 months. I know. I wasn't ready before." He shoved hands in pockets. "I got a DUI 6 months ago. Court-ordered therapy and AA. My therapist made me work through how I treated you. And Vera waited. And I used you," Leo said, words clearly difficult. "For years, I treated you like an ATM. I never appreciated what you did. When you took your money and I blamed you, I should have recognized I'd been stealing from you all along. You gambled away $40,000 of company money. I know. The crypto thing, it was stupid, But I thought if it worked, I could prove I wasn't a screw-up. Instead, I proved I was an even bigger screw-up. Why are you telling me this? Because I owe you $87,000. Leo pulled out an envelope. That's what my therapist and I calculated. All the loans, plus my share of stolen company money, plus the 40 grand. $87,000 that I took from you. NHE set the envelope on her desk. That's a check for $5,000. Everything I've saved from the dealership. I'm going to keep sending $5,000 every few months until I've paid back everything. Vera stared at the envelope. This will take years. About 3.5 years. I know that's long. I know 5 grand every few months doesn't make up for what I did, but it's what I can do. Leon, I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not asking for a relationship. I know I destroyed that. I'm just trying to be the person I should have been all along. Someone who pays his debts. NHE turned to leave, paused. For what it's worth, I'm proud of you. You built this without us, and it's amazing. I wish I'd told you that years ago. And after he left, Vera sat alone staring at the envelope. NSHE didn't open it for 3 days. When she finally did, she found the check, exactly $5,000, and a note, one of approximately 18. I won't contact you unless you want me to. And Vera deposited the check and filed the note. 4 months later, another check arrived. $5,000, no note. And then another 4 months later. $5,000. Leo was actually doing it. Keeping his word for the first time in his life. And Vera wasn't sure what to feel. Meanwhile, her company continued growing. She hired a COO, freeing her to focus on strategy. She spoke at industry conferences. A business journal profiled her as a rising entrepreneur, under 40. NSHE bought a 2-bedroom condo in Bernal Heights. Paid cash. NSHE started dating David, a software engineer with no connection to family drama. He proposed on a Marin hiking trip. She said yes. NHER mother sent a card when the engagement was announced. Congratulations, Mija. I hope you find the happiness you deserve. Vera read it once and threw it away. NTWO. Years after walking away, Vera was in her office when her assistant knocked again. Your Uncle Vincent is here. Says he needs to talk about something important. Vera almost said no, but something made her pause. Is he alone? Yes. And Vera, he looks rough. Vincent appeared looking nothing like the arrogant man who'd lectured her. He'd aged dramatically, hair gray, face gaunt, clothes hanging loose. And I'm dying, he said without preamble. Pancreatic cancer. 4 months maybe. And Vera felt a jolt but kept her expression neutral. I'm sorry to hear that. I'm not here for sympathy. I'm here to say you were right about everything. He lowered himself into a chair. The business, the money, pushing you out, all of it. We used you. And when you stood up for yourself, we blamed you for our failures. Why tell me this? Because I'm trying to make peace before I go. I don't want to face whatever comes next without at least trying to apologize. Vincent pulled out a folder. These are financial documents from when you were running things. Records you might want. Vera took the folder. Vincent, I already have evidence of what you did. Isabella gave me copies. I know, she told me. A ghost of a smile. My daughter has more integrity than I ever did. I'm glad she had you as a role model. And silence. N. I don't expect forgiveness, Vincent said. I just wanted you to know, I see now what I did. How I used my shareholder position to extract money from a company you were killing yourself to save. You deserved better from all of us. Yes, I did. For what it's worth, you've built something extraordinary here. Something legitimate, based on your own work. I'm sorry I never acknowledged your talent while I had the chance. Vincent stood with difficulty, leaning on his cane. I won't take more of your time. Thank you for seeing me. After he left, Vera opened the folder. Inside were meeting minutes from shareholder meetings she'd never been invited to. Email chains discussing managing Vera's involvement. Financial projections showing they'd planned to push her out once the company was stable. Evidence of their long-term plan to use and discard her. Vera filed the documents and went back to work. She had a business to run, employees who depended on her, clients who trusted her. NSHE didn't have time to dwell on the past. Vincent died 6 weeks later. Isabella called asking if Vera wanted to come to the funeral. I don't think so. But thank you for asking. I understand. It's small. Just me, a few friends, your parents. He'd alienated most people. "Are you okay?" "I'm sad, but I'm relieved he got to apologize before he died." That mattered to him at the end. 3 months after Vincent's death, Vera got a text from an unknown number. "This is Leo. Check 14 of 18 is in the mail. Hope you're doing well." She'd been receiving checks every few months. Leo was actually going to finish paying her back. She'd never responded to his updates, but she'd kept every check, every note. Evidence that people could change, even if too late to save the relationship. 3 years after walking away, Vera stood in the lobby of a downtown office building she'd just purchased. Not rented, purchased. Her company had grown large enough to buy its own headquarters, a 6-story building in the financial district. "This is incredible," David said, arm around her waist. "You did this, and built it from something I salvaged from wreckage." They'd been married 6 months, and Vera was still adjusting to having a partner who celebrated her success instead of trying to extract from it. NHER phone buzzed. "Leo, check 14 of 18 in the mail. $5,000. She'd received 13 checks over 2.5 years. In another year, he'd have sent $90,000, more than he owed because he'd calculated interest. She'd never responded, but kept every check. Evidence that change was possible. And as they toured the building, Vera saw a familiar figure on the sidewalk, her mother standing hesitantly, clearly having worked up courage. "You go ahead," Vera told David. "I'll meet you at the car." Nelena looked smaller, still in her Safeway vest. Probably on lunch break. "And Vera, I heard about the building. Congratulations." "Thank you. I won't take your time. I wanted you to know. Your father passed away last month." NTHE news hit harder than expected. "What?" "Heart attack. Very sudden. At work." Elena's eyes were dry, tears already cried. The funeral was small. "I didn't think you'd want to know, but Isabella said I should tell you. I'm sorry. He asked about you at the end. In the hospital. He wanted to know if you were happy." Elena's voice cracked. "I told him yes. I told him you'd built something beautiful. I hope that was true." "It is true." Elena wiped her eyes. "He was proud of you, Vera. He never said it to your face, but he was. He used to read articles about your company and show them to me. Strange way of showing pride. I know, we took you for granted. By the time we realized what we'd lost, it was too late." Elena pulled out an envelope. "He left you this. Asked me to give it if I ever saw you again." And inside was a handwritten letter on notebook paper. "And Vera, NIF, you're reading this. I'm gone and your mother found you. I don't expect forgiveness, but I need you to know some things. And I was wrong. About everything. Enabling Leo. Taking your work for granted. Pushing you out. The money we took without telling you. All of it. And I spent my whole life trying to keep peace. And I hurt the one person who deserved my support. You. You were strong enough to carry our weight, so I let you instead of making your brother step up. That was cowardly. You were right to walk away. Right to take your money back. Right to cut us off. And I'm proud of who you've become, even though I had nothing to do with it. Maybe especially because I had nothing to do with it. You built yourself despite us, not because of us. And I hope you're happy. I hope you found people who value you the way we should have. And I love you. And I'm sorry I never showed it properly." Dad Navarra read it twice, tears streaming down her face. "He wrote that 6 months ago," Elena said quietly. "Carried it in his wallet every day, hoping he'd see you. But he never did." And Vera folded the letter carefully. "Thank you for bringing this. Can I ask, are you happy? Really happy?" And Vera thought about her company, her building, her husband, her life built on her own terms. "Yes, I am." "Good. That's all I needed to know." Elena started walking away, turned back. "I'm at the Safeway on Geneva most days. If you ever want to talk, I'll be there." And after her mother left, Vera stood holding her father's letter. David appeared at her elbow. "You okay?" "My dad died last month." "Oh, Vera." David pulled her into a hug. They stood like that. Then Vera pulled back. "I need to get back to the office. Meeting at 3. N. We can reschedule." N. "No. I want to work. Work helps." NTHAT evening. Vera sat looking at her father's letter. She thought about the man who'd enabled Leo's behavior, who'd taken money from the company she was saving, who'd pushed her out to cover fraud. NSHE also thought about the man who'd apparently spent his last months carrying an apology, hoping for a chance to give it to her, who'd been proud from a distance. Neither version erased the other. People were complicated. NSHE filed the letter with Leo's repayment notes and Vincent's deathbed apology. Evidence that people could grow, could change, could see their mistakes, even if they couldn't undo them. NHER phone buzzed. Isabella. Heard about your Uncle Marco. Sending love. Dinner this week? Vera smiled and typed back, yes. Thursday? Perfect. She had Isabella. She had David and his family. She had employees, clients, her building. She'd built a life with people who valued her for who she was, rather than what she could give them. NTHE family she'd been born into had failed her. But the family she'd chosen, built piece by piece from people who earned their place, was solid. Epilogue. 5 years later, Castellano Property Solutions managed 97 properties across San Francisco, Oakland, and San Jose. 42 employees. Annual revenue of $4.3 million. Vera had been featured in Forbes, 30 Under 40, and invited to speak at Stanford's business school about entrepreneurship and resilience. NSHE stood in the conference room of her headquarters, the building she'd bought 5 years ago, now fully renovated, preparing for a board meeting. Real board members this time, not family extracting value. NHER assistant knocked. Vera, Leo's here. Says he has something for you. NHER stomach tightened. She hadn't seen Leo in 5 years, though his checks arrived like clockwork. 18 payments of $5,000, plus a final payment of $2,000 for interest. $92,000 total. NTHE last check, 3 months ago, had included a note. Payment complete. Thank you for not giving up on me even when I'd given up on myself. Len, send him in. Leo appeared looking nothing like the smirking 28-year-old at that dinner table. He was 33 now, well-fitted suit, carrying himself with actual confidence. Hi, V. Leo. I know I said I wouldn't contact you unless you wanted me to, but I needed to tell you something in person. He held out an envelope. I got promoted to sales manager, and I've been saving aggressively for 2 years. I'm starting my own business, a car brokerage service. Fully licensed, my own capital, congratulations. The thing is, I wanted to do it right this time, so I hired a lawyer, set up an LLC, wrote a real business plan. And I had to think about who I'd want as advisors if the business needs help. NHE handed her the envelope. That's a formal pitch deck. I'm not asking for money. I have enough saved to start small and grow sustainably. But I wanted you to see that I learned something from watching you build this. How to do business with integrity. How to build something real. How to treat people who support you with respect. And Vera took the envelope but didn't open it. Why give this to me? Because you're the most successful entrepreneur I know. If I ever need advice, I'd want it from you. Not as my sister who I can guilt, but as a professional I respect. He shoved hands in pockets. Also, I'm getting married in 6 months. I don't expect you to come, but I wanted you to know. Her name's Adriana, she's a teacher, and she doesn't take any of my shit. You'd probably like her. I'm happy for you. Thanks. He turned to leave, paused. One more thing. Mom asked me to tell you, she's retiring next month. Moving to Sacramento to be near Isabella. She wanted you to have her new address, in case you ever want to reach out. NHE put a card on her desk. No pressure. Just information. And after Leo left, Vera sat alone with the business card and the pitch deck. NHER phone buzzed. David. Dinner at 7? Or working late again? NSHE smiled and typed. Home by 6. I'll cook. You never cook. Special occasion. I'll explain tonight. And Vera looked around her office. The awards on the wall, the photos of her team at company events, the window overlooking the city she'd made her home on her own terms. NSHE thought about the woman who'd sat in that shabby Mission Street office 6 years ago with $847 in her bank account and a family that treated her like an ATM. That woman had been drowning, carrying everyone else's weight, believing that sacrifice was the same as love. She'd learned the hard way that it wasn't. Love didn't demand $143,000 with no appreciation. Family didn't push you out to cover their fraud. Relationships didn't require one person to set themselves on fire to keep everyone else warm. She'd lost her relationship with her parents. Or rather, she'd walked away from a relationship that was killing her. She'd cut off her uncle. She'd spent years with no contact from her brother. And in that space, she'd built something extraordinary. Not just a company worth millions, but a life worth living. She'd found people who valued her. She'd married someone who celebrated her success. She'd created boundaries that protected her peace. Leo's 18 checks sat in a folder in her desk drawer, evidence that change was possible, that accountability could be learned, that even the most selfish person could grow into someone who paid their debts. NHER father's letter was in the same folder, evidence that regret came for everyone eventually, that pride often arrived too late to matter. And Vincent's deathbed apology was there too, evidence that some people only found clarity when facing mortality. Vera didn't need their apologies to be whole. She'd built wholeness herself. NSHE opened Leo's pitch deck, curious despite herself. It was actually good, professional, realistic projections, clear business model. He'd learned something after all. NSHE made a note to review it properly over the weekend. Not because she owed him anything, but because if he was serious about building something legitimate, she could offer perspective. Not as his sister, but as someone who'd been where he was trying to go, on her terms, with clear boundaries, with no expectation of being taken advantage of. NTHAT evening. Cooking dinner in the kitchen of her 2-bedroom condo. David asked about her day. Leo came by. Vera said, stirring pasta. He's starting his own business, actually doing it right this time, saved his own capital, hired professionals, has a real plan. That's good, right? Yeah, it is. She turned off the burner. And he finished paying me back. Every dollar he owed, plus interest. Took him 3.5 years, but he did it. Are you going to rebuild a relationship with him? And Vera thought about it. Maybe, slowly, on my terms. If he continues showing up like this, with accountability, with changed behavior, with respect for my boundaries. And your parents? I don't know. My mom's moving to Sacramento. She left her new address. I'm not ready to reach out, but maybe someday. That's fair. They ate dinner together, talking about David's day, about weekend plans, about normal things that had nothing to do with family drama or betrayal or years of being used. And after dinner, Vera sat on her balcony with wine, looking out over the city lights of San Francisco. She thought about the journey from that terrible dinner table to this moment, the rage, the clarity, the midnight transfer, the company collapse, the fraud discovery, the painful confrontations, the years of distance. NSHE thought about what she'd learned, that enabling someone's greed doesn't help them, it hurts everyone. That protecting yourself means saying no, even when it feels harsh. That boundaries aren't punishment, they're self-respect. NSHE thought about the price of her freedom, relationships with parents who might someday earn their way back into her life, or might not. A brother who was trying to change but couldn't undo the past. An uncle who died knowing what he'd done wrong. And she thought about what she'd gained. A company built on her own merit. Financial security she'd earned herself. A marriage to someone who treated her as an equal. Peace that came from living on her own terms. NTHE loss was real. The gain was bigger. NHER phone buzzed with an email notification. A potential client requesting a consultation, referred by one of her current buildings. Another opportunity, another step forward. Navira smiled and opened her laptop to respond. She had work to do. Not because she had to, but because she wanted to. Because this company was hers. These clients chose her. This success belonged to no one but her. She'd spent 6 years carrying her family's weight, another year extracting herself from their grip, and 5 years building something they could never touch or diminish or claim credit for. She'd learned that sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is walk away from people who hurt you, even if they're family. That saying no is an act of self-preservation, not selfishness. That you don't owe anyone your peace. Not your parents, not your siblings, not your family's so-called legacy. When people cross your lines, when they take without giving, you have every right to walk away. To take back what's yours. To build something new from the ashes of what you left behind. Nevera had walked away. She'd taken back her $143,000. She'd let the company collapse. She'd exposed the fraud. She'd cut off contact. And she'd never regretted it for a single day. Because on the other side of that decision was freedom, was peace, was a life that was finally, truly hers. NSHE closed her laptop, finished her wine, and went inside to join her husband. Tomorrow she'd wake up and go to work at the company she'd built from nothing. She'd make decisions that affected 42 employees and 97 properties. She'd continue building something that no one could take from her because she'd learned the hard way to protect what was hers. NTHE Castellano Family Property Management Company had died in bankruptcy 5 years ago, destroyed by the people who'd run it into the ground twice, once before Vera saved it, once after they'd pushed her out. NBUT Castellano Property Solutions was thriving, growing stronger every year, built on a foundation of hard work, integrity, and boundaries that could not be crossed. Vera had paid the price for her family's failure. She'd spent 6 years and $143,000 cleaning up their mess. She'd given them everything. And then she'd taken it all back. NTHAT Withdrawal, that midnight transfer of $143,000 that left the company account at negative $56,000, had been the best decision of her life. NNOT, because she'd wanted them to fail. But because she'd finally valued herself enough to refuse to fail with them. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is walk away. Take back what's yours. Let people face the consequences of their own choices. And build something beautiful from the wreckage you left behind. Nevera had done exactly that, and she was never looking back.